Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name is Brian if you're new around here, but if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, Soul Nation. You are incredible. Let me just thank you so much for being here and hitting that subscribe button at some point in the past. And you really mean the world to me. That's what you get for subscribing. My love and adoration and praise at the start of these videos. Today, guys, we're doing a little bit of a different kind of video. This is going to be more focusing on New World and its economy, especially if you guys have been following my adventures through the game at all. You'll note that the economy has been a roller coaster of a ride, and it's been honestly something really fun to watch. So what I want to do in this video is I want to talk about why you've seen both the rise and fall of the economy, what I think Amazon needs to do to help address this issue, as well as benefit the game for a long time. If you might, maybe you don't know, but New World actually has a player-driven economy, kind of. And that kind of is the real key factor. So when you go in this game, there's a couple ways of generating money outside of like treasure chests and the random, boss or enemy dropping items or essentially doing the quests. One way is if I pull up my inventory, I can dispose of various items by clicking on salvage. And this is going to give me a kind of a preview, 2 repair parts and 38 coin. And that is one way of getting rid of items, filling up my repair parts and getting a very little bit of coin in this case. So the general way is that you want to buy and sell, and this should be very basic, but what you've seen in the game is it's this huge rise. You saw like everybody just like rawhide going for insane prices, 1 to 2 coin and more. So we've seen a huge amount of turnaround. Then what ended up happening is that we saw a massive crash in the game. And what that was is in terms of the economy, all of a sudden everybody stopped buying items from the board. And we've seen in other posts, in fact, y'all have tweeted this at me, asking for my kind of opinion on it, that we've seen even some of the servers shift to a barter system, meaning I'm not going to actually surrender my coin because coin is too valuable. I'm going to trade you some iron for some linen, and we're going to make up our own exchange rate. Couple key reasons for this. Well, first reason is with the game, if you've ever been to the town board project, you'll see various different things that you can do to turn in and actually get experience. And it's not just an insignificant amount of experience, it's quite a lot. So we saw items heavily in demand for town project boards. This has been helping everybody as they rush to 60. But once people started hitting 60, the town board became pointless. There really wasn't any reason to use it because there's, XP lost all its value. It's one of my key criticisms of MMORPGs is once XP becomes completely useless, it's just this perfect currency in my mind. It's this perfect even balance of progress that once you hit the level cap, then there's not a lot of value for you to have in that case. Anyway, we'll get back to it in what can be fixed. So that was actually inflating the price of goods because you could actually just go to the markets, purchase the items for the town board, turn them in, profit, move on. So we saw all these people playing the game kind of like a more of a theme park game, rush to 60 as the goal. And thus, once that happened, all of a sudden the demand for those items dropped off dramatically. A couple other things we've seen is that in that drop, we've also seen taxes, and taxes have been quite expensive. In fact, I actually own a house here, and if I go ahead and pull up my house, I can actually pay the tax on it. So let's go ahead and teleport, and I'll show you what I'm going to owe on my taxes. And this is how it's actually, or at least my approach to the playing the game has completely changed once I started just bleeding coin by paying the taxes in the game itself. So this has actually changed up my strategy, and then we'll get into talking about how to fix it. So if I go to pay tax, you can see here right now in 3 days and 9 hours, I'm going to pay 649.32 coin. Now I can choose not to pay the tax, and I'm going to lose my buffs. I'll lose my ability to fast travel. I'll lose my ability to decorate. And if you guys kind of step into my house here just for a second, you'll note that it's really like my ability to decorate isn't a punishment. It's not anything that I possess. So you can see right now, I need to at least be making that much coin in the game. One of the things with taxes is that they're funneling all that money to the owners. In fact, actually on our server, Covenant actually just took over Everfall for the first time. So congratulations, splitting up the syndicate domination. Looks like we're seeing Marauders grow even more powerful there. So Taxes is a huge incentive, so it's making the rich get richer, it's making the poor get poorer, and so now I have a decision to make. And so what I've been actually choosing to focus in on is actually leveling up my Everfall level so I can decrease the overall property tax burden every chance I get. That's shifted it. So I've actually been doing more town board projects, doing what I can to level up my my zone, just so I can have that lessened burden of taxation on the game. So with these factors, with the demand for goods having been artificially hyped based off of players in the way that they've approached MMOs, and then that massive crash when obviously that demand went away, here's how I think they can fix it. First things first, let's use the systems that we already have in the game. And I'm going to point to the town board projects as well, especially even the faction missions. Remember how these reward XP? Well, what if you don't need it? I think they should be allowing you, at least until they come up with maybe some kind of post XP game for it. I'd love to see some form of just kind of glamour-esque. You get a level worth of experience and you open up a special chest or something that has different loot, but that takes more development. What I'd love to see them do is that if they're at level 60, take the experience and allow them to funnel it into territory standing. This would be a great way of just kind of leveling up the different zones, even if it wasn't as efficient. Just don't let XP fall on the ground. Continue to incentivize doing various things that already exist in the game that reward XP, and then funneling that maybe into the player's choice, into a pool that maybe they can spend 10% of the experience into X category, or turn that into skill points for X whatever. At the end of the day, like, these are just ideas that I'm throwing out, into the ethos, so you guys can let me know if there's one that you like over the other. If you see any concerns with this kind of system, I'd love to know your thoughts, as this, in my mind, hopefully a fun discussion. But let me show you guys something else real quick, because here's the other fundamental problem that I think that they need to change. But obviously we might disagree on this next one, and so let me show you what we've got going on over here in my storage shed. And I think this is a kind of a key critical issue. Stop showering me with constant weapons and armor in the game. I'm constantly showered with these kind of things. What this does is it removes my need to ever craft in the game, or to maybe go to the markets and buy. You have to have demand for a product so that people will supply that product. And if people aren't willing to supply that product, then the price of the product goes up. But what we've seen is just weapons are just like, it's just dirt cheap to get various armor pieces and gear. Now, obviously the perks and everything matter. One of the things that will happen over time is players will get trained up in thinking on through perks, thinking through what their perfect weapon is. And obviously when you get that nuance, that's where crafting is going to come in over the RNG nature of the loot drop. But I have to think that something needs to be done if you really want to incentivize people crafting and making weapons and armor in the game. Otherwise, like, I have never needed to purchase anything from the markets, weapon and gear wise. I don't know how you train people to do that, especially with the way that the game currently functions. And I don't want to necessarily say that no weapons and armor would drop off of the thing, but I got weapons off of a wolf. Like, I think maybe think through the loot tables at a minimum and say, okay, certain monsters clearly would have a weapon. Maybe that's something that would drop off that enemy, as opposed to just kind of a free-for-all. And the final conversation that people have been having online, I want to weigh in, is the concept of vendors. Now, in Final Fantasy 11, that's kind of the biggest MMO that I came into. So I was trained in sandbox. I really love the player-driven economy, and I love player-driven economies. I think they add value to the overall MMOs for generations to come, outside the theme park model or the just the vendor shop model. But vendors can actually be something interesting in the world. And if you think about it, if they do decide to add in vendors as a way to kind of vendor off gear, I think there should be a system in place, right? Like, one of the cool things about how big the world is and travel is impacted is that maybe if you can control a zone, maybe you and your faction vendors, like vendors in the town, will favor you. Maybe they'll offer goods and services that only you can purchase, kind of in a way, setting a minimum, like a vendor in this case would set a bare minimum price on something. So that way you don't end up flooding the market with 0.0. Now, when you introduce the vendor and a kind of a gill sync, or printing money printing money into the economy, you need to make sure the sinks are there as well. Otherwise, you don't end up getting rapid inflation. So balancing the economy should be a risk. But one of the other things that I actually enjoyed in 11 is that there would be certain shops that were only open during certain times in game time. So sometimes during game night, maybe they were closed, or maybe that shop is only open at a certain hour. So it's not necessarily like a vendor that's just, you just go and you dump all your stuff, you don't even care about it, and you move on, go on to the next thing. But as a way of kind of setting floors on certain prices of items. You can also set ceilings, so that way, like if somebody wants to go buy an item that they could only find in Brightwood and then travel it down to, like First Light or something like that, then they could actually create various market trains. It'd have to be handled very carefully, because at the end of the day, you wouldn't want to sit back and say like, okay, now no one's engaging with the economy. But I think everything that they can do to create potential economies within the player-driven economy is going to be a win for the game in the long run. Over the course of the next month, I highly expect we'll see more market volatility as various patches get rolled out. But I wanted to sit down today and share those thoughts. I think those are the kind of the critical issues. Keep XP worthwhile. Give it some form of meaning, because then that's going to give meaning to just that concept of pulling things off the market and turning them in for XP and other rewards. You're not going to spend, 100 gold just to turn it in for 5 gold. You are buying the experience boost, and that's essentially kind of one of the big aspects that a lot of players have. And then that volatility, that demand creates, people wanting to go and supply that, and it just incentivizes the whole game. The final thought, I've said this and posted this on the forums. I know dungeon keys are kind of a big concept. People have asked for those to be removed. Personally speaking, I like that a dungeon key would incentivize running different pieces of content, would incentivize crafters. But right now you have to craft your own because it's bind on pickup. I don't believe that was a part of the original plan. So I don't know what changed in the course of the bind on pickup history, but I think they need to make those tradable, because anything that can be put on the market that kind of says, if you like running dungeons, but you don't like crafting, well, and you like crafting, but you don't like running dungeons, like, let's get together. Like we just made a baby, and the baby is a happy economy. So that's my silly analogy for the end of the show. Thanks, guys. I'm gonna see here. Flip coin. I had some free currency. Flip coin. I suck. Okay, I'm gonna just pull up the emotes here. Coin toss. There it is. I like this emote. I had they gave me everybody has 5,000 free currency money. That's one of the new emotes. I think it's freaking awesome, and it comes up heads or tails. So that and roll dice is a really nice one. So I really appreciate the emotes in this game. Anyway, I just wanted to show that. That's my thoughts. That's my feelings. Thanks, guys, for being here. If this is the video that gets you to actually hit that subscribe button here on Ginger Prime, welcome to the Soul Nation. Sound off in the comments so I can officially welcome you as well. I'm really glad that you guys are here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully I get your thoughts, feedback, and more. But I'm going to wrap up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And hopefully see you next time. But until then, take care.